5 years after the release of Destiny 2, the developer seems to have done everything to make it difficult to get acquainted with it. Because of the constant content removed, the newcomers now find himself in the middle of an epic story. Not knowing what he is fighting with and why, the new add-on, according to the claims of Bungie, was to change the situation. The creator promised a single-player adventure in the spirit of Halo, the perfect entry point for neophytes. The Witch Queen campaign turned out that way, but only partially. The first and most important thing to know about the plot of the Witch Queen is this is not easy for a newcomer to fully understand it. On the one hand, all the characters are quick to label their characters, so on a basic level everything is obvious. But on the other, everyone involved in the events has a lot of baggage that makes the story richer for a Destiny veteran. Who is Savatun? Why does no one trust Mara-Ol? And what does Osiris have to do with it? All of these questions are not answered by the Witch Queen, and with the disappearance of previous edition, you will have to go to the YouTube to get them. If you're a newbie who wants to a smooth entry into Destiny's lore, then the ridiculous introduction to the MEZ and the Witch Queen campaign is definitely not enough, unless you like the local atmosphere enough to explore the universe on your own. If you just wanted to a story along the lines of a villainous villain threatens all living things, but is manipulated by an even more villainous villain, then you can safely dive into the Witch Queen. To be fair, even passing the add-ons themselves to understand the Witch Queen will not be enough. The add-on story is very closely intertwined with the last season, which had to be purchased separately. For connoisseurs of the lore, the Witch Queen will be another nice addition to Destiny 2 storyline with familiar characters and problems on a new scale. It's a bit stressful to see another even cooler evil appear, but it looks like the next antagonist, and his addition may be the last for the game. Queen Witch Savatun turns out to be the most interesting antagonist of all in the Destiny 2. There is a storyline revolving around her life with a couple of unexpected twins. Sometimes you get tired of the fact that the developers are constantly digging into the past, but it's still interesting to follow the events. True, the villain herself does not have enough screen time to reveal. You have to bury yourself in the books again to feel the character. The only saving grace is the atmospheric original voice acting of Deborah Wilson, known for the roles in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Grace Walker in Wolfenstein 2 The New Colossus. The second important point about the Witch Queen is that it's still essentially the same MMO from Bungie, with grid shooting and forced grind. Several times during the campaign, you have to distract it by side quests, because otherwise even the simplest part of the story mission seems impossible. However, in the Witch Queen, you need to grind much less than. For example, in Shadow Keep with its obvious essentials, it's unlikely to take more than a couple of hours to beat out the characteristic you need in the campaign. Another problem for the newcomers, similar to the difficulty in understanding the storyline, arises from the abundance of mechanics and nuances that have accumulated in Destiny 2 for 5 years. The situation is well described by the author of Digital Trends, who after a few hours of the game wanted to see a PowerPoint presentation explanation of the mechanics. The Witch Queen brings even more features to this MMO cocktail, but each one is explained in detail in the supplement. Therefore, for example, no one will have a problem with glaives and craftings. There are two main gameplay innovations that will affect the entire game and will remain in it even after the Witch Queen. Glaives are the first hybrid weapon in Destiny that can be used in both ranges and melee combat, and crafting allows you to create a weapon provided the player has previously discovered its image by destroying enemies and completing quests. And here the crafting process is a bad example of MMO queens within Destiny 2. Not only that the number of guns for crafting is still very limited, so for the resource to create something cool and have to run for hours with an unvaulted class of weapons, compensated by the opportunity to choose their own packs to create weapons, which previously would have to know out in the mountains activity. Now when you use the crafting gun, it increases the level, which opens up the possibility to add it enhanced modifiers. And like the same statistics at the start of Beyond the World, the glaives have not broken PvP, and generally occur there quite rarely, but single quests with them are more pleasant to pass through due to the huge amount of damage, and with a few packs from the artifact, glaive becomes the best weapon in the game, which interrupts any attacks of the enemy, in general not at bad condition to the arsenal, not bringing any dramatic change in the usual gameplay. But the large-scale redesign of the Void, one of the elements of the Guardians, has had a much stronger effect on gameplay. As with status, you can now choose the type of Void grenades and a spec that modify other abilities in a separate menu. You can fine-tune your favorite class even more, and this year Bungie promised to revoke the remaining two elements. But all of this refers to Destiny 2 as MMO, and we want to believe that this innovation will stay in the game forever, and with time will be finalized. But the storyline of the Witch Queen, it is one-time product that is unlikely to change in the future. So what's up with the promise about Halo? If we look solely at the story missions, the Witch Queen's campaign is definitely the best thing that happened to Destiny's 2 story since the now unavailable Red WoW. First and foremost thanks to the bosses. The awkward enemies from the previous edition, which rarely caused any trouble at all, have been replaced by multi-phase enemies with plenty of health. At the same time, battles with them not just hide and seek with short bursts from behind cover, but sometimes not a simple puzzle under the pressure of crowd of foes. For example, to defeat one of the bosses, you must first shooting clamps, walk along dark path to the crystals that disable his shield, and forgo the action, the player is surrounded by variety of enemies. Duly such large-scale battles, many bosses around with the plot of the Abandon, some Knight of the Seven Tune have Ghost, which allows them to use the abilities of the Guardians and resurrect. So you have to be careful, and at the crucial moment do not forget to crush the ghosts, so as not to deal with a strong mob twice. And dodging waves of fire or boomerangs of Empireness is not easy. Now it's clear now the Cabal, Vexes and Despicable felt in recent years. And if the passage still seemed too easy, you can repeat it on a legendary difficulty. This is one of the long-awaited innovations that directly reference Halo. On the legendary difficulty, all the enemies become times stronger, and the player has no radar. Each battle becomes memorable and requires a unique approach, and the rewards in this mode are much more impressive. Hardcore fans will be able to open the new merchant and the third difficulty mode. To do this, however, you will have to grind the rank for a couple of evenings, what is certainly not to complain about in the campaign. In the new location, the Throne World of Sevetun is more beautiful than the rest of Destiny 2 planets and more diverse than the analogous worlds of Oryx from the first part. The ruins and caves here are mediocre as always, but the palace and the ship Sevetun remind some places of Giger's work. At the same time, thanks to the different color palette and lighting, such a location do not get bored until the end of the passage. The Witch Queen seems to be almost the best audition of Destiny 2 yet. The local story campaign has no equal among the previous add-ons, thanks to the diverse gameplay and location design. But only a veteran of the game can fully enjoy the story, and for a newcomer, half of the names and terms will remain an empty sound. Is this good entry point into Destiny 2? I don't think so. But gameplay-wise, the campaign can hook both, because it judges the styles of play and places entirely new demands on combat skills on legendary difficulty. It's not a full-fledged single-player action game yet, but it's something very similar. It's all the more interesting to see which direction Bungie will take and what the Destiny 2 final will become. So, if you played Destiny 2 earlier, highly recommend to try this add-on. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.